Okay, thank you. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Sequim Planning Commission. It's 5:30 and today is December 3rd. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha S'Klallam, Jamestown S'Klallam, and Port Gamble S'Klallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim with the same care and consideration the S'Klallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all of the powers and perform each and all of the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Wow, I finally have that down by the end of the year. Let's do roll call. Emily, will you please take roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Carter,
Present.
Commissioner Kuntz,
Present.
Commissioner Cummings,
Here.
Commissioner Fain, Commissioner Hewitt, Commissioner Lefevre,
Present.
Commissioner Mahalik.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of minutes for the November 19th meeting. I know that there was an email that Commissioner Hewitt sent out. Would you like to talk about?
I just want to thank you for clarifying what is included in the minutes and what shouldn't. I had a question if our discussion on habitat should be there. I've been informed that it's an action only type of minutes. So thank you very much for clarifying that.
Okay, thank you. So with that being clarified, is there any, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes, and is there any discussion or corrections to the minutes? Okay. Oh, yes, Commissioner Mahalik.
General business 6.1. It's simply the action, move to adopt. Who and seconded by? There's.
Okay.
Some updates with the holidays. We can update the minutes and bring it back at our.
You might want
Okay.
to take a look at that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that idea because the record should reflect who moved and yeah. So with that being said, thank you, Commissioner Mahalik. Is the commission okay with these minutes being updated and back for approval at our next meeting?
I think that'd be a good idea. Read through because there's a couple like that. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Public comment. General public comment will be heard at this time. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. For those wishing to speak on the public hearing topics, please hold those comments until the portion of the meeting. We do have no public hearing topics tonight. I don't see anybody in the room that might want to provide public comment. So with that, Emily, is there anybody online?
There's no one online.
Okay, thank you. So now we move on to general business, and it was brought to my attention that we could do a agenda amendment to remove item A, which is the 5290 code processing, because we have no information on that or no updates, as Emily was not here to work on that.
I'll correct. It's actually me that has been
Okay.
doing the code amendments, but Emily was not here to put the agenda together so well that she often does. So it was a carryover from the old agenda.
Okay. Do we need a Do we need a motion to have that removed, or can we just do an update?
I'm not sure. That's a good question about Robert's Rules of Orders. We can go ahead and
Lindsay?
we're already on general business. We're already conversing about it. So let me just state, I have no updates at this time due to the holidays and other work programs and finalizing some of the MH manufactured mobile home park stuff that's going to city council. My workload has been limited, so I have not got into the Scribner's edits of the 5290 language yet. But as we discussed at our last meeting, staff and the department and all departments that do development review permits will be prescriptively following the state law come January 1, even though the city of Sequim does not have updated code yet.
Okay, well, thanks for the update. That's probably enough that we don't need to remove it from the agenda. We can just move on. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to item B, which is 2045 comprehensive plan, evolution of the 2035 to 2045 SQUIM vision statement. And I believe that we have a presentation on this. Is that correct?
We have a discussion on this. So
Okay.
and we'll give you guys a brief on how we provided the materials for you today and kind of where the vision lies within the comprehensive plan and the conversation that we will start today and all the questions that you saw from the consultant that was listed in the document. And then kind of discuss how the vision will likely continue to evolve as you work on separate elements and other chapters of the policies within the comprehensive plan. The recommendation for the completion of the vision typically is done at the same time as the whole comprehensive plan, so that if we need to go back and make tweaks and or make changes based upon policy directive and conversation, we can at that time. So the materials that were, and so I do want to introduce, we have Bill Grimes with us. He is joining us virtually. He is in mid-travel, so he's available as we go through and maybe even ask him, why did you ask this question? What's your reading of this in our vision? He's there to help guide us as we get into some of the minutia of the current vision that's in our 2035 plan, the integration of the public comment and the public feedback we've heard for the last 6 or 7 months, and then also kind of looking forward to what the commission will be working on with the rest of the comprehensive plan over the next 9 months, 7 months. So.
Okay.
So in the materials tonight that were provided to you, the cover sheet talks about how the vision may evolve. It breaks down the discussion about direction, and plan direction has been highlighted in greens. Plan jargon and kind of language that's been integrated into it is in blue, which can be confusing to others as they try to apply or use the plan. The vision has, we have identified, I should say Bill identified in orange the specificities of what is a balance, the vision needing to strike a balance and being abstract as well as aspirational, and establishing a clear sense of direction. And then the applicability and the purple. And so the comments and the notations that were provided reflect the plan's apparent preferred direction. And with that, we want to make sure that as we prepare the vision for the SQUIM 2045 comp plan, that we make changes and identify where the areas may be either dramatically changed or just gently nudged in policy, and see if that has a role in our vision and the specificities. If it's a high interest item like a pickleball courts, pick on pickleball courts because they're pretty objective. we may not want the specificities in the vision about supporting pickleball for the next 20 years because volleyball is going to be the big thing in a few years. So maybe during the vision, we do generalize and say that Sequim will be an active sports recreation community, but not say, it's our vision to be the pickleball capital of the Olympic Peninsula. If that's your vision, that's fair. So, Bill, I want to see if there is anything that you would like to add to this before we really give the commission time to ask their questions and maybe even provide some high level or minutia detailed responses to the questions that are in the materials provided for them tonight. I can't hear. Is he on there, Emily? Yeah, it might be the Bluetooth in the car and this Zoom issue. I can hear some things, but we can't hear you very well. It's more like a cord rattling. I wonder if he's still in that tunnel. Okay. Well, while we wait for him to pop in with voice, I will go ahead and give this back to the commission to say high level thoughts before we really start. Do you want to go page by page? Do you want to kind of have a generalized discussion before we start discussing some of the flagged and colored and items that were questioned?
I think maybe we'll start with high level thoughts. Does anybody have anything to start with? Commissioner Frame?
I'm sure someone else could probably ask this question more succinctly and professionally than I can, but the nodes, the Washington corridor nodes, came up with all the citizen input sessions that we had, and it was sort of a new concept. And then have nodes of a higher density along the Washington corridor. That's a nice change, and to have that direction from the public. But do we really expect to see commercial or investors developing in that as opposed to what we've seen the last few years? Let's say Rolling Hills is an example of filling out the R4 through 8 with development that they seem to have a pretty good commercial plan for and get return on their investment, and there's a demand for housing of that sort. So is it sort of a pipe dream? And then with the height restriction set at 18 feet in some of those core areas where the nodes might be, do we have like obstacles that have to be removed? First of all, is there a investor, or if investors going to go for something like that, or we're going to see continued filling out into the yellow areas, residential? That seems to be how things have been going. How do we see things really playing out in the future?
Okay, thank you. Anybody? Yes, Lindsay.
I don't know if that was a question to staff or to the commission, so I don't want to interrupt.
Is that a general comment to everybody, or?
I was just asking because in the 2015 comprehensive plan, there was a lot of talk about little cottage houses and this and that, and I didn't see much that has happened, that hadn't already happened by the time that was written. New projects of that sort that happened. So it was sort of a wish thing based on current trends at the time, but then it didn't really guide. There wasn't a demand for that, or there might have been demand, but there wasn't investor-led interest because they could have a better profit and a more sure return on their investment by doing something else.
Mhm.
That's sort of my 30,000 foot question.
Okay, so if I'm following you, I feel like your concern is, are we, what we're putting in this, is it viable? Is it relevant? Is it something that, are we going to be putting things in as far as like with the development of the nodes and then have a way to be able to execute it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and is there, because this is not, we're in a society where this is not like we're not like a European somewhat socialist society where there's council homes developed and the city takes an active part in investing public money into public housing. We're totally capitalist, profit driven, and so I just wondered if it's even for it to be feasible. From some things I heard that you would have to lift a height restriction, so you could have maybe three or four stories apartment building. Otherwise, it's not feasible. So. So it seemed a little bit more on the pipe dream type of concept to me than something we would see. As what people want for housing is different than what developers and investors seem to be providing. So they're providing for wealthy an influx of wealthy retirees from elsewhere, more than development of lower priced housing for current residents.
Okay, thank you.
I would want to say that what you're asking, Alex, is probably 2 or 3 steps beyond where we're at now. What we're talking about is, what is the vision of this community, not what the practical applications and nuts and bolts of the vision is. So this is not, your comment is not the 30,000 foot level, it's the 100-foot level. It's how does this work on the ground, knowing the environment and all those people. So with the vision, this is the way I understand visions, is this is where we want to go. This based on all of the stuff that should I call him a contractor? What do I call him? Consultant. All the information that the consultant had, everybody he interviewed, we're developing a vision of where we want to go. And then the hard work, that's kind of probably the easier part of it. The hard work is stair-stepping that down to goals, ordinances, etc., that encourage in an appropriate way the things that are in the vision about where we want to go.
Okay. I think
I appreciate that. Anyway, I wanted to share what I was feeling anyhow, and so I appreciate that. A lot more
Yeah.
remains.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Alex.
Commissioner Hewitt, did you have something?
I think Commissioner Carter hit everything right on the head. The investor will be incentivized through the process. So we will get to the end. That's that 100-foot level. So now that we've defined who we want to be, there was a developer there who talked openly in a couple of the meetings about mixed use properties along Washington as a potential. And to make that happen, there's certain things that have to change in codes and other things. So I think I agree 100%, Commissioner Carter. This is our North Star, and then we'll figure out how to get there. But as I read this, that's the feedback I got from the community. They kind of wanted the nodes, and it fits with how are we going to keep open space if we keep building flat and wide, right? And so I'm comfortable with what was put out here, and I'm confident the city will come up with ways to make it happen.
Okay, thank you. Does our consultant, are they on?
I've got Emily reaching out to him
Okay.
to see if he can perhaps chat if he's unable to communicate vocally. Just want to make sure he's able to at least hear you guys, because that's the biggest, most valuable part of his participation.
Okay.
Alex, I
Thank
do
you.
want to thank you for your comments. I think they are high. I think that Commissioners is correct on the level. I summarized them a little succinctly. How will we incentivize? What about the height restrictions? And those are definitely answers that we have to address as we get into the implementation of diversity of housing typologies and the identified location that the community recommends we place them.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I do have a follow-up on that vision portion. I'm assuming that Bill incorporated either in question or comment in this document all of the feedback that he's gotten from the community and the city staff and whoever else he interviewed. Because I think maybe I haven't read enough, but I'm unaware of all of that. And so what we're trying, or what, I guess the question is what we're trying to do is what? Because we're starting with the vision from 10 years ago and trying to modify it according to current data?
We could either keep the things that are valuable of keeping that we're still continuing moving forward on. We could rewrite whole sections. We could remove whole sections. But this is the community's comprehensive plan. And it is your time to consider that. You know, do we carry forward? Has things been going well, or were there pipe dreams that were unrealized?
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
I mean, if I was to summarize it in what I've heard from the community as far as bullet points is they want more diversity in housing, more affordability, and preserve the small
I'm
town.
going to try again.
Oh, we can hear you, Bill.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you now.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, you interrupted our chair though.
No, it's okay. I was done. So take it
Oh,
away,
okay.
Bill.
Yeah, very, very sorry about that. Am I coming across?
Yes, you're clear as
Okay.
day.
Sweet. So I appreciate the comments that have been made so far. And I think it really does illustrate the tension between what you want to have as that guiding light or that North Star and how you actually find out ways to make it happen. And it's part of the art that we'll be going through here over the next 5 or so months as we pull together the draft plan. And we did have a housing focus group shortly after we had our planning commission workshop to go over the plan's preferred direction. And we wanted to test some of the concepts and see if there actually is an appetite to invest in this type of development on Washington. And there appears to be. I mean, I think it will certainly come down to the details of what will make a deal work. But I think that we do see people interested in creating the type of more compact housing form and mixed use commercial and housing form that this vision is starting to point toward. So that was really affirming, I think, when we had a chance to speak to the development community in that housing focus group. So I think we probably have a level of maybe acceptance to it that we can see as permission to move forward, I believe, in this scheme. Now, Lindsay, I appreciated your introduction to the vision statement and that cover page. And maybe if I can go back to that for just a moment, the green text, I think, is really the most critical to get your eyes on early, is to make sure that what we're including as plan direction is syncing up with some of your hopes and expectations and your own experiences in the workshops and the conversations you've had with community members. The blue text is figuring out ways that we can use plain English in this vision statement rather than some of the jargon type terms that were included in the earlier draft. I mean, it's shorthand, it's effective. And if you're a planner and you read it, you know generally what's being said. But I'm hoping we can have a vision that's a little bit more easily consumed by people who aren't planners. Also in orange, I'm talking about specificity, and there's some passages in the vision that are a bit vague and kind of arm wavy. And I'm hoping to be able to drill down into some of those a little bit so that we do have a clearer idea what it is we're asking for or what we're shooting for, without necessarily losing that kind of abstract aspiration that we think is still pretty important in a vision. And then the purple text deals with the applicability. And I can understand why some of these things were included in the vision at the time, 10 years ago. There may not necessarily be a need for them now. And so I think having a vision that is a bit more pithy, I think might make it more effective. So that's the root of the color coding here. So I think if you wanted to maybe prioritize your efforts tonight, I would say, and you've been doing it so far, is to consider those concepts that are highlighted in the green text, because those really are the things that we're using as a filter as we go through our policy analysis now. And I don't know that we need to have a final direction from you this evening. I think maybe just a sense of the appropriateness is probably about as good a utility as I could hope for tonight. So please continue with the conversation. I'm really enjoying listening, and I have heard every word.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the other commissioners have any input on this? Yes.
I think when you get to the page 5, when it says the vision guides this plan, and when you expand out the comment about the map, I think that's an important concept to integrate into it, the visual where the nodes are with some sort of idea. And I think part of what we need to do is to take a look at what the green is and expand those out. And are we comfortable with it, or is it some territory we don't want to go into? I mean, there's quite a bit. And when you go down to 1 through 13, the problem I have with this, Lindsay, is that you have to expand out each comment each time. And I can't necessarily read the rest of the text because the comment's then in the way, or my hand is in the way because my computer won't leave the comment open. So if we had the comments open.
I apologize for that. If you were to print the item, you would get it in the Word document where the comments are on the side.
Okay.
If you want, I could ask a staff member to go up and print a paper copy for anyone that wants it. I may be able to actually print them from here and we can go grab them.
If I'm the only one who's having a problem with each and every comment and what the concept is, then I'll just go with it on my own, but
Yeah, I apologize. It was my understanding that when I saved the PDF with the comments on the side, that it would get uploaded with the comments on the side. So I'm not sure why the agenda program moved the comments into the document.
Yeah, that would be helpful for me too.
Okay.
And I will say that I tried printing this at home,
Uh-huh.
and it very well could have been
Yeah.
my
Now I
my
can
printer and my internet, but
5 of these.
it was like 45 minutes and it had only printed one page, so I gave up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it has anything to do with the comments or
Okay.
my internet or the fact that, my husband was doing whatever in the office and trying to print stuff too, but
I have just requested Travis to print 6 copies for those of you that, Alex, were you able to print yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put it in a special PDF program I have, and then gave me all the comments and the list. And so then I kind of collated that into my existing printout without it,
So,
so I can look across the page, see what
Okay.
the comment is.
so I have directed Travis to go print 5 copies for everybody. So he'll be working on that while you guys are in the matter of discussion, I guess. And if we want, we could start with the green, and I could help guide you that number 1 has green in it. And number 4 has green in it. Number 5 has green in it. Number 8 has green in it. And number 13 has green in it. We could start with just number 1, and it says growth will occur mostly within the current urban growth area, which is the green, rather than continuing to push outward. Mostly, as the comment on the side says, mostly is indistinct, but indicates a preference. It also says UGA, which is different than the first paragraph in our vision that talks about it being in our city, in our downtown.
yes.
I have
Commissioner
some
Connor.
general comments about that because right on number 2, it talks about rural lands will be preserved for agro-tourism, et cetera. Are there really rural lands in the UGA, or are you talking about, were they talking about the county?
That's a great
Lands.
question. Under legal case law, there are no rural lands in a city or a
Or
UGA.
UGA, correct, right.
So the rural lands under Washington state law all occur in a county.
Okay, so we can't control what the county does. We can try and be a partnership with them. But so that's a contradiction right there, number 1 and number 2. So it's got to be cleaned up to be aligned correctly.
Does anyone have a recommendation on how to do that? Go for
Well,
it, Larry.
You've said there are no rural lands within our,
Under case law in Washington
So-
state, yeah.
to me, number 2 has to be deleted.
Okay.
In my mind, I don't know how we keep that if we don't have any rural lands.
Well, is Lavender Farms rural? I mean, Purple Haze Lavender, they're within the UGA, aren't they? And-
They are not rural under Washington case law.
But that would be a place.
Agriculture can occur in some cities if you wanted to zone it for some agricultural uses and agritourism.
Agritourism. So we don't want to just delete it outright. We do want to maintain areas that have agritourism within the UGA, but I don't know how to say that.
And that's fine. We can,
I mean, that's
we
what
as
I think.
consultants go back and dream about it for months, and then we'll figure out how
Okay.
to say it.
There's several other ones in there.
Well,
But I'll find them later.
so before we leave number 2, it specifically says they're going to be preserved. So by that designation, we may have already zoned Lavender, Purple Haze
Behind you.
Farm. for residential. I mean, I don't know. Somebody at the city would have to tell us. But so that conflict to me seems, I don't know how we preserve something we don't maybe have within the city. And I think that was part of the confusion of the people coming into the meeting. I understand we want to keep open space, and maybe we phrase it open space, but housing developments will have to have a certain amount of open space to keep that kind of open feel. But we don't have within the city itself. We don't have rural lands. We don't have the farms that we had that the antecedent part talks about when there were just 500 farms and it was all cows. All of that has been rezoned, I think, or at least
The
I'd want to
thing
know
though
that they've been
is
rezoned.
if we want to keep agritourism, we're not really talking about farms. That's different than agritourism. The county itself will allow someone with 1 acre to start a lavender farm or whatever they're going to do and call it, well, they didn't call it agritourism. They called it agriculture. But I'm sure that within the UGA here, we have 1 acre places that are farms. I don't know how to deal with that. But we want to encourage that, I would assume.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, again, how to phrase it. It can't be rural, right?
So then,
We can work on it.
so then on number 2, we're saying that we want to preserve that, but we need to reword that so it's clear. Is that right?
We would have
Yeah.
to do the reverse of the incentives we were talking about the nodes, but look at how we work to not reduce private property rights of the property owners while preserving land for the function of agriculture and food and the things we need as humans to survive. And so that'll be something that I will work with Bill and the planners and kind of consider chewing on some of those things.
Okay.
Back to number 1 though, because we got away from the green pretty quickly. We're staying on green. Growth will occur mostly within the urban growth area. I think our vision is that it occurs within the city limits. And I will share with you that the county did pass, and you may have seen it in the news article, but the county passed the housing allocations for the growth for Sequim, Forks, Port Angeles, and Clallam County. The city limits are anticipated to carry the majority of the growth. The UGA is only anticipated to grow by 5% over the next 20 years. So with that resolution of those housing allocations, I would recommend we amend number 1 to read growth will occur mostly within the city limits rather than continuing to push outward.
Yeah, I did find that to be a little bit confusing. I agree with you on that. And if we're going to look to be more strategic with our development, I mean, we would want to start with areas that are already developed. Like the city.
Correct. We have the concurrency and capacity and infrastructure needs within the city limits for our water, sewer, and transportation.
Okay. Anything else on that? Commissioner Crane?
Well, this is one of those things that's not been expressed or covered, but as a relative newcomer to Sequim for 7 years here now, one of the charms of Sequim, from my perspective, is the empty fields full of cattle, that's scattered all over inside the city limits too. I love seeing the cattle and their calves right now and all the rest. And of course that's going to eventually all vanish. I just wanted to mention it because we probably have more little stands of cattle than we have lavender farms. and it's going to go away with development. We're gonna have a little different feel. Right now, it's breaking things up and helping us, giving us something, a variety to appreciate in our landscape. That it's just going to go anyway, according to all the plans and everything. But I'll be a little sad. But I doubt there's any way to treat that any differently. But just
Okay,
a comment.
thank you. All right, so we ready to move on to 3?
Let's go to 4.
Okay,
There's green in 4. The green in 4 says compact pattern of growth. I'll read the whole sentence for you guys. A more compact pattern of growth will create a future that is affordable in all ways, physically, environmentally, socially, and economically. And comment for that is that, let's see here. Should the statement be redefined as the description of nodes concept, and kind of thinking about how we can reframe that with the nodes approach? But also another comment of the staff was that it's indistinct. It's failing to describe what compact is or the trade-offs on that. So is it that it's more compact throughout the whole city, or there's nodes of compact growth that created a diversity throughout the city?
okay. Any input?
Isn't that covered in number 1, where you just said growth will occur within city limits? Isn't that a compact?
Not as compact. So I think that the intent of compact in this level is thinking downtown, like 2-3 stories, mixed use, higher what I call and what planners call activity units.
Okay.
There's more jobs, there's more people in a smaller dense area.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
what would the pros and cons be if we limited it to the nodes, or we just left it open and broad?
Well, we do have policies in our older plan, our current plan right now, that talks about affordability throughout this whole city, and recognizing that affordability needs to be addressed in every zone, in every neighborhood, and not something that should be pushed into just one area. So there's a fine balance between saying compact growth, compact pattern of growth will be affordable by then just putting it in blocks that then create societal challenges of not having diversity of age, income, and status within it.
Okay,
You can have high income, high density
Of course, yeah.
housing. And so
And some multifamily tax exemption tools in Washington State provide some decent ways to incentivize developers to provide high finished condos at a higher density, and then they are maybe able to put what I'd call a builder grade condo that maybe doesn't have the beautiful view, but still in the same unit, and they can meet some affordability benefits that then give them tax breaks down the road. So there's ways to balance it and create diversity within your neighborhood.
maybe if we craft that statement that way, more diversity within the higher, and I understand why we might be avoiding the use of high density, but the higher density or more compact environment. But that's what other cities are doing. They're putting in 2 or 3 or 4 low to moderate income units in these more dense condominiums or townhomes or whatever it might be.
Sure, yeah. And I'm not afraid of using the word density. If the Planning Commission wants to get there, it's a matter of, where are you on the temperature? I think that the community understands it, but I'm really fresh compared to Alex. I've only been here 6 months. So
My personal opinion is if we want open spaces, we've got to compromise, density. And, I would rather have the density in the city,
Yeah, but Lindsay's absolutely correct. The community hears density and they immediately think Seattle, right? Or they think Tacoma. So I don't mind using compact as long as, we're getting into our own jargon now.
Right. We're not talking 100 units at an acre.
Yeah.
But we could look at going away from unit counts for density and looking at the structure and the form that it creates in these nodes and allowing it to maximize height to get as many dwelling units in as possible too.
And even requiring green space within those
Yes.
developments, which give it a more open feel. It won't be rural unless we
No.
can get a cow in there, but
I know a guy that does some steel cows down in Olympia.
okay.
It seems to me, with these 13, you could probably compact them into 10 or 9 because, the next one down talks about downtown and multifamily development. Number 9 talks about higher density housing, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like we're parsing it out they were parsing it out too much. And we can kind of combine some of these comments into a 9 or 10 issue thing here.
I would agree with that.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's shaking their head. Yes, Bill.
Okay, so
'cause-
compact form in everything we do.
Yeah. Mhm.
Efficient.
Yes, Eileen.
So it was talked about earlier, but I really think the simpler, the better, the more compact things, and offering definitions. So when we say a word, the public can look up that it should be listed within there, what the definition is. So it's really clear that what we talked about and decided upon is this.
I like that. Bill, have you seen definitions in a comprehensive plan before? And do they become officially codified then at that point?
Well, I think there are different ways you can do it. I mean, reaching way back, I wrote a vision once for the city of Enumclaw, and I actually had the vision, but then I had annotation boxes accompanying the vision. So you had the vision, and then there was a bit of a more free-flowing, colorful description of what.
Kind of like in our textbooks. I think we lost you. Oh, there you go. You're in and out right now, Bill. So that's an option too. If we didn't add a whole definition section, like you can see in text boxes or in textbooks, they'll have a little side key points or whatnot. We could consider putting that into a defining area.
That would help to flow a little bit better, But yeah, I agree with Commissioner Carter that this could be, combined a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I guess back to the last green I see on 13 is continuing to move forward with all ages. I just want to make sure. I heard a lot of that during our engagement and our outreach, that family friendly, especially the first round. But did the commission hear the same thing? Are you?
Yes.
Because there's a lot in the 2035 comp plan that is not all ages kind of discussed. And so if that's where we want to go, that we will likely need to work on the conversation of what it means to remove preference of one demographic to open it for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that resoundingly, from all age groups and demographics. It wasn't just the younger generation that says we need a place. There was also the older generation that says we need more
Youth.
Yeah.
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 Cool. Okay. Did you guys have any other comments or ideas on this page?
I do on 12. The comment is about the stewardship and the fact that this takes into the groundwork for design control. Design control was very hotly discussed during the creation of the original comp plan, and the feedback from the citizens wasn't good.
And can you help educate my history on that a little bit?
Chris had an idea that of what the houses, all houses would look like and how they would be structured, where they would set back from the street. It was very specific, and it did not go over well.
Okay. And was that from the 2006 plan then? Or
The-
the
The 2015.
the 2015 plan? Okay.
Right.
You hear that, Bill? No, he's not a
Exactly.
participant anymore, but we have had conversations along those lines. So we will, I'll reiterate that comment to him. I guess let me go to a higher level though. Does the commission believe that design and aesthetics is important? Maybe not the need for it being as prescriptive, or we'll call it, what is Cape Cod, as someone else had?
Are
I
you
don't think
talking
it
about
needs
like a
to be as
theme?
prescriptive as saying you can't have a pink house or a yellow house, or, I mean, there are standards.
Right.
And the comp plan talks about certain areas having the certain feel for, but when you start getting down to the nitty gritty, whether you can have a bush that is at your front door and you have to have steps leading down into that are, X, Y, or Z, that was a little too much.
Okay. And that's fair to know. I appreciate that.
Okay. Did you have something, Larry?
Yeah, and this is going to sound really bad because I'm a retired banker, but we're using friendliness in here a lot. And I'm wondering, is that our responsibility to ensure everybody's friendly, or should we, I mean, I'm all for friendly, right? As opposed to the opposite, but it seems like we're putting something in that we can't deliver. I think to, what Commissioner Fain said earlier, I think we can keep it a small town feel, but there's this recurring theme about friendliness and volunteerism that I'm struggling with as a new commissioner, how we in the city are going to make people be friendly with each other. And that's that's just me. So.
And that's fair. But if you think about open space, common area, shared space, you can create a sense of community and a sense of, I mean, I'll speak to myself. My neighbors are really friendly. I mean, Dennis hasn't brought me cookies, but I know he walks by every day. And he's got beautiful rose bushes. But I understand that is something that if you're not culturally training it and through being raised here or wanting that, it is hard to navigate and contain and prescribe that through bureaucracy. Doesn't generally create kindness. Sorry. So I hear your question. It's, we are a kind community. And I think that when they were drafting that 2015 plan, they said, yes, we are a kind community. We'll make sure we put that in there. But how do you implement kindness? And I don't know that we need to we recognize that we are kind, but I don't know that there is a way to implement it if it's not through social construction of site plans or the ability to communicate or.
I think we could use a different word, like supportive.
Yeah.
Or something like that isn't, I mean, we want to be friendly, but let's be honest, people are going to be people. And
right.
The more people that come and the more, we talked about VRBOs and Airbnb. So you got more transient type of people coming in and out. I just struggle with it. So, but I'll let go of this right now.
Okay. Commissioner Frayne, you had something?
Yes, well, something that's really good about new residential construction is that every house has to have a sidewalk. And the idea is your neighbors will be going by and you'll wave and get to know one another instead of things being on kind of little alleys and there's no connection between the houses in that kind of thing. And yeah, put a term for it, community enhancing, I don't know. But if you compare, I was 2 months in Seattle and the lack of sidewalks was huge of a bad thing that they have. And that we're on such a better path to providing a nice community feel. I don't know a better word, but I see why you're looking for one. But I'd say we have it, and we're good. We just have to know how to describe it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Cummings.
I was looking for friendliness in this list, and really I think that only is mentioned once, but it talked about promoting a social fabric where small town friendliness is experienced. So, there's a little concern about being accountable for friendliness in this statement, at least in this part of it too. When you were talking, I thought, what about promoting social
Cohesion.
activity or what, if the friendly,
Engagement.
yeah, something that's real that,
Something we could deliver.
right. But other people were a little concerned about it too, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if this is still a thing, but long ago when I was very young and studied urban planning, there was a whole thing about house and community friendly design, which was not a garage or a double car or triple car garage facing the street where you have to cross, the vehicle has to cross over a sidewalk. It doesn't allow for a deck at the front door where people can meet and sit, etc. It required alleys. Was a friendliness way of, but and I don't know if that's still a thing, but most of the developments going in are car friendly developments. Let's hurry up. Let's get in our garage. It's right there, right across the sidewalk. Not, kids with bikes on sidewalks is kind of a, you got to be careful, so that dovetails with the design element we were talking about. And we can't really dictate a design element, but we might be able to dictate where garages go. I mean, I don't know.
I will tell you, I won't tell you what employer, but there are employers that I've had that require your front door must be at least 6 to 10 feet in front of where your garage wall plane is. So the first place that people go to the home is the front door, not the garage is the first. We call them pig snout.
Right.
When your garage gets built off of your home and becomes a garage over what should have been a driveway generally. The city could look at requiring parking in the rear of lots. They could look at, there are ways that even new subdivisions could do shared driveways, and I've seen garages built on the side of the home so that it looks like a full home front, even though they've got a 4-car garage that's, taking up 1,000 or 1,500 square feet of the structure. So there is a way to incentivize that. But again, I don't know that it makes people friendlier.
Okay. Okay.
And with that, let's talk about the antecedent for a little bit, if you guys don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling away from the green and going to purple, but I think that this is a good conversation, and it is the other area that talks about friendliness. I don't know. The conversation with me and Bill is, do we keep this? We know where we've been, and we can speak to culture and arts in policies and our parks elements and other things. But are we still moving with the vision and idea of what it was like prior to 1965?
Well,
Mhm.
definitely, yeah, the highlighted yellow, the municipality's highest and best destiny is to be a center for the accommodation of retired persons. Definitely feel like we could revise that.
To
Because
all persons.
Well, yeah, because the vision from what we're hearing from the community is that they want it to be more inclusive. Eileen?
I was discussing this or speaking about this before everybody got here, because if we are a retired community like everybody says we are, who's working at the grocery stores? Who's working in the restaurants? Who kids in school? You know, it's wrong. We should be more inclusive and more supportive, and because we need each other. So.
Yes.
So
Yes, Larry.
how do you put that into a vision?
She said friendly, Bill. That's it.
So I think I'm going to be bold here and say what happened in the past was wonderful, but the world is so much different today, and where it's headed. I mean, Commissioner Kuntz pointed out that we don't want to be what it was what this antecedent says.
Mhm.
So we can't change the antecedent because it is what it is and what we were. And is that really the purpose of a plan? It's a history of who we were, which is great. And we've weaved in some of that history into the planning document already by saying we would like to keep open spaces or agro-friendly things. But a lot of this is talking about, it's almost like not letting us change and go forward to achieve the compact housing. It's
Mhm.
not letting us have younger people. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. And then, okay, so I'm struggling a little bit with the next sentence where it says, in view of the fact that the municipality has no visible characteristics to distinguish it from any other city in Washington, the municipality and business leaders should develop a plan to lend distinctive character to the community and encourage harmonious development. I mean, do we really need to go way into the weeds with that?
Is this when we got the Western storefronts?
Maybe. I mean,
no, I do not think that this sounds a little Disneyland-esque to me as a professional planner. It's like, we don't know how we're going to make our money, so let's just invite people with money in.
Right.
I mean, could we
And
just
that was
even,
bold, but
yeah, I mean, even if we just took out the first part and then said the municipality and business leaders should develop a plan to lend distinctive character to the community and encourage harmonious development.
I would like to point out that everything is purple, and to remind you that purple is to consider redaction and removal
Okay.
of it.
All right. Yeah. Good. Okay.
I would say remove it.
I would
Yeah.
redact too, or remove.
I did hear about the who's working for us, the more inclusive, more supportive comments that Eileen made. That and then the fact that history is a very important aspect of where we're going because it is who we were. And so I think that the key takeaways I'm taking as a professional is to make sure that we do address history in the comp plan in our later dates. Don't put more weight on it than the future, but make sure that there is a balance to the history and where we're going and how the history has brought us to this friendly, kind, caring, supportive community that now we're moving forward in these steps.
Yeah, I agree. Because, when I came here, it was because my grandparents retired here. And it
Right.
was
So
all
they brought
about
you.
retired people. Yeah. And now you have people coming here not because, their people, their family is retired here. It's because they want to enjoy the beauty of the area. They want the outdoor, the fresh food, the water, so
Right.
we have changed.
And the economy of scale, the world has changed, the way
Mhm.
the way that people can work. I mean, there's a lot of different things that have changed about everything. I wasn't here in 65.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So Bill, do you want to add anything on that in regards to the antecedent?
Well, I think that's great. I do hope that we will remove it, but I think the conversation is good because it helps underscore some of those items that really are priorities.
Yeah. Cool. Great.
Okay.
Okay. So while we're talking about purple, I know that he wanted us to talk about green, but I'm taking the control from him for a minute. Let's just go to the Awani principles really fast. And I say really fast to touch it. I don't know that we'll have the full complete conversation tonight about it, but the last page talks about the principles and the way to assess the comprehensive plan. And the comment is, well, it's potentially helpful to keep it in mind, including it in a policy document may not serve the community's interest, especially if Sequim has to make a decision which doesn't precisely align with the principles expressed here. So it's almost like the comp plan is locking in these, this is the way it shall be done. And I think that we all know that the comprehensive plan is a living document. It does get amendments annually. It gets a major overhaul every 10 years. As issues arise, staff recommend making changes or adjustments to accommodate for the capitalistic market we live in. So that is what I will state as a subject matter expert on it, but I want to hear your guys' input and or thoughts on this.
Anything?
Well, I see it as, I understand that this is a policy document because it does eventually get to policies later on in the document. But this I understood as just simply a way to assess the comprehensive plan, which is the way part of the title. So I don't think it was, I wasn't there when it was put in. But I do see the yellow you're talking about, community and regional principles. Some of them are pretty darn good, but it's also important that they're referring mostly to urban areas when they came up with these plans in Awani.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely think if the commission is so inclined, there are components that we can integrate into the plan to make sure that, and I think that there are a lot of policies and components already in it about healthy environments, friendly communities, compact development. But
yeah, and some of these community principles, I can just thinking about the Sequim Municipal Code are already covered somehow in the code.
So are you taking our temperature on whether or not we want to kind of just remove this section or?
I yes,
Okay.
it feels a little tepid.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to put us in a box on, we're looking at something a document that's going to be, for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, so I think like what Commissioner Carter was saying was right, that if we can implement this in other aspects,
We
there's
could, yeah.
no sense in putting ourselves in a corner.
And this is, we could write the quality of some of these ones into the vision that is the Sequim principles,
Right.
the Sequim
Exactly.
guidance of how we intend and kind of be authentic instead of borrowing from some other great community that came first on these ideas. But we could look at it into the Sequim vision.
Commissioner Cummings?
Who's going to read this? Who wants
Planning
to read this?
commissioners and community and economic development
Had it all
directors.
highlighted in my copy.
Besides Jeff, who would read this completely and take notes?
Someone who's interested in the comprehensive
I
plan.
know, but I think it could be incorporated in different ways to tell people the process or how we made this happen in a paragraph or less, and in easy English. So that was just my comment that.
Dennis, you got some history on this?
No, not on this one.
Okay.
But that's been kind of my thought all evening so far is we have a lot of policy direction in our vision statement, and that's not where it belongs. Vision statements are, in my mind, more concise. Kind of gives you a framework of where the community wants to go and has been. I agree with the historical aspect, but we don't need policy in our vision statement.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that for sure.
Policy follows vision.
Yeah, the vision should be like our, like our dream,
And ordinance is supposed to follow policy.
yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Larry?
This seemed kind of jargony to me, and we skipped over the jargon. Let's cut the jargon out thing. And who was this really written for? I would carve as much jargon out as possible, because I think our citizens, when they read it, they need something that they can grab onto and understand in many ways. And so you simplify if you can. So that's just my thoughts on this section.
I've been training staff and explaining to them how the profession of land use planning has utilized jargon and verbiage to a point that it's time to just drill it back to straight talk.
Can we
So,
do that with ordinances too?
not sure about that. Whereas, sorry, guys.
I would agree from what I'm hearing with everyone is removing these principles from the document and streamlining the vision. As Jeff said, there are redundancies in 1 through 13. So if we streamline it as we've heard, I think that would be our step forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys want to get into the community values? Oh, Eileen, did you have a comment on
Had a
that?
quick comment, and I just wanted to say, we got responses from the community members. They took time to come to meetings. They're responding. We want to be able to them to say, oh, that I talked about that. They really listened to me and clearly recognized that their input was incorporated in it. So I think that could be a good guide to make sure it's clear. Thanks.
Okay, what was your question, Lindsay?
Are you guys ready to move to community values?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't want to stop if anybody wants to speak to anything on that anymore, but the community values is the larger section. I think we've gotten through the foundations that would lead into the community values section through the conversation that we've had. So with that, we got lots of friendly and we got lots of small town.
Well, the small
I'm just
town
going
was,
to back out and let you guys kind of just roll with the conversation on this.
okay.
But I think that the information that I've heard you discuss today, we could hit it at a high level and direct the consultant to come back with a condensed version of the vision based upon the conversations we've heard to date, and then really get into the minutia of the community values at a later date after some drafting has been done.
I just have one minutia thing.
Yeah.
Those numbers, over 40,000 people living in the valley, in the Sequim Dungeness Valley, seems high.
I do think that that is a little high. I have been told we've got a population of the whole county at like 75,000
Yeah, and it says
It's
100.
80, over 80.
or 81,000 or something like that.
So
We
I would just
can,
have them
but
take a
we'll
look at
do
the
an
numbers.
ACS survey and we'll make sure we check those numbers. American Community Survey from the U.S. Census.
Okay.
For those of you that didn't know what that acronym meant.
Okay.
Okay. Travis does believe it's over 30. Because you think about it, and I guess it's what is the geography of the Sequim Valley? Is that from the river, Dungeness, to the bay, or is that including Bell Hill in the county, all up to the national parks and all the way to Port Angeles?
Yeah, so that's another question. The Sequim Dungeness Valley, or do we just want to be bold and say Eastern Clallam County? Or
Well, then we
something
take
like
over
that?
Port Angeles.
Well, I'll consider that central. I'll consider, but all the way out to the county line, right? I mean, is that, I don't know, where's the 30,000 people? What is, when you say there's 30,000? Is- So,
Right.
That would probably make sense. Yeah.
so I had a trouble.
It starts around.
And you have it all the way to Blinn, I believe, has Sequim addresses.
Even further down point.
Even down to Diamond Point.
Having them maybe provide an explanation of who's included in this valley.
Because I don't know that I've tried to find a definition of what is the Sequim Dungeness Valley? What were the county? And I had a hard time trying to find that. So
The geographer in me would think that it comes from the Elwha, anything that the river used to meander through. So it could include all of Carlsborg, and I'm thinking about the topography maps that I've seen now. But yeah.
A valley has a specific definition.
It
It's not a
does.
human one.
Yeah.
So, we can figure it out, but why do we even need to know?
Fair enough. However, we are the commercial center for the residents that don't commute towards Port Angeles.
Okay.
Or
Am I
Port
the only
Townsend.
one with a Port Angeles address?
No, I'm there with you. We
Okay.
live on the same road.
Are you in Carlsborg then?
No, we're on Blue Mountain,
Oh, okay.
but we are still within the Sequim School District.
Oh, that's weird.
which
Well, you have
makes
to
it
be while you're on the
interesting, right?
commission, yeah.
That's our idea of the
Yeah.
Dungeness Valley. That goes to the county too.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. Well, we will work on a definition, but back to the point, do we need the demographics of it in there?
I don't think so.
Probably
I
not.
mean, I don't think so.
Yeah, we could just remove the sentence.
There's a
too.
lot of fluff there's a lot of fluff in here. There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of good stuff, but there's like that whole, why is that in a comprehensive plan?
To attract economic development for somebody that might potentially read it as they might be a business opportunity there.
They'd probably be better off
I don't know
calling
if
the
fluff
Chamber
says.
of Commerce for
They probably
information.
would.
Yeah.
So let's just go with the headers of the paragraphs instead of the weeds of the paragraphs.
Okay.
The heart of the valley. Do we agree that we are the heart of the valley?
Yeah, we are.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. Mhm.
Do we agree that we are a connected community?
Internet
feel like-
connected,
I
do we
feel like we're
mean, or
getting there.
otherwise?
Can't be friendly if you're not connected.
That's true.
That's true. That's
You
true.
can't get connected if you're not friendly. Yeah.
We're connected to the same utility system. Yes, we're connected.
Okay. Okay. This is talking about our complete streets and our ability to provide for recreational and flow at a level that is appropriate for that person at that time, whether they want to drive their car on Washington or decide to take Fur. I don't know if Fur goes all the way, or they decide, yeah, I think Fur goes at least a decent amount. Brownfield, one of the other ones. So as we think about transportation or connections, I don't know that it needs to be in our vision. We are a complete streets city. We are receiving state funding for connectivity and other items. But cohesiveness, a cohesive community, maybe not a connected community, but a cohesive community would be a North Star kind of guiding principle for a vision.
Can I be clear when you say in our vision? Because Bill used that term too when he was talking about the Ahani stuff. Do you mean, when you say that, do you mean in the vision statement or the chapter of the vision?
Well, hopefully it goes from a chapter to a statement. And that we bring that the vision is that this is our goals for the next 20 years. And these are the policies that we've adopted to try to meet these. We don't put our goals in the vision, but we say we are being aspirational.
Right.
We want to recognize that there is a culture shift in housing needs or something along those lines. So it kind of will point the person to the right element to see more of the change, but it doesn't need to carry the weight of the shift or the change. It can be open-ended and non-prescriptive.
Okay, so for me then, community values would be part of the introduction rather than part of the vision. Because this is introduction and vision, this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's a technical thing.
So we will, okay, so are you saying keep the community values components in the introduction and then we'll work on a vision statement that is cohesive?
I don't know. I just didn't know how you guys were referring to it when you said this is part of the vision. It's
Mhm.
part of the chapter that says vision, but it's not the vision statement that says where we're going. This doesn't say where we're going. It's more describing what we are.
Right, right. So do we want to take away what we are and add where we're going and make it a vision statement?
Well, that's what it should be. Yeah. A vision statement.
So this is kind of the challenge of like looking back and looking forward at the same time, right? And I think we want to be a cohesive community.
Mm-hmm.
I think we want to develop all these things. So I like the idea of more forward looking than saying, this is what we are today as a like, and we're going to build off of it. We want to be a cohesive community. There's been times when this community has not been cohesive.
Yeah.
And if you were to say the past, you couldn't say we've always been cohesive, but we would like, and this is what we heard from everybody in our meetings, we would like to be all rowing in the same direction. And this is the direction. So cohesive, I like.
This does
Yeah.
sound like Karen described. It sounds like a marketing piece you would hand out to somebody wanting to move to Sequim, or a business that you want to know what the community is like.
Well, and
Right now.
if you, and I wasn't here, but as I've had to learn, If you reflect back to what was going on in the 2015 comp plan, they were working hard to establish the employment opportunity zones, the lifestyle district, and a few larger changes to land use and zoning at that time that I don't disagree with you. It may have been additional validation.
Yeah. Okay. Karen?
This is kind of the back to the future kind of a vision statement. This section is in 2035. If the plan is successful, this is who we are. And that's where the misunderstanding is, because it's written with the demographics of present.
It is, yeah.
And yet it's supposed to be a vision of future. So it's a little confusing as to what's going on in the context of the writing. And if the plan is successful, this is where we want to be. Yes, we want to be a connected, complete streets community, and we want a great place from childhood through retirement, and we still want to be at the heart of a rural valley. That's basically what it says, the headers. The text doesn't really meet with the headers, and it needs to be finessed.
Yeah, it needs to be finessed, and it needs to be authentic too, I think. Because there are truths that were maybe visionary to the writers in 2015 that are not reality in the last 10 years. Like specifically the school system levies and bonds issues, or some other family wage employment is not something that we have managed to figure out how to get in Sequim yet. So not to say that we should give up on those hopes and dreams, but maybe there's a better way to rewrite it.
Yeah, or as Jeff was saying, incorporate it into the vision.
Into an
Because
actual
that's what-
vision of writing
that's
it
what we
in
want.
2024.
Yeah, we want all of this,
Yes.
you know.
Okay. With that, I don't want to stop anybody if you guys are really enjoying this conversation, but I do think that if I were Bill, I have gotten some great information from the Planning Commission tonight on the direction and where to take the Play-Doh and start molding it for something that might be hitting the mark for what a vision statement and maybe even a brief introduction chapter would look like.
Yeah, I agree. Commissioner Carter?
Can I just point out one thing that's not in a vision that we're talking about yet, and that is it's environmental. It's our, are we we want to be a resilient community and maybe have alternative energies or something in that direction that's in addition to we're just going to build a town for human beings to do whatever they want to do in there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of discussion on the steward of the environment on the last page of the community values, but because we have received that climate change, there's mandated significant changes in GMA for this update. I definitely would assume that the draft that comes together will include the components of the climate element considerations.
I mean in the vision statement
itself,
because I realize this, that if we have a catastrophe, we're the last on the list. We got nothing to generate energy here at all. So, maybe independently we can figure out a way to be resilient in emergencies like that, or I don't know. I didn't even know what I'm saying really, but it's absent.
I hear what you're saying. I appreciate that.
Or have we not gotten to that part of it yet?
We haven't gotten to the drafting of the policies yet to then realize, oh, wait, we need to get something in.
Yeah.
And I will say that there is a decent discussion about sustainable low impact design in the environment and natural landscape. But I think that what I hear Commissioner Carter talking to is sustainable self-sufficiency as well.
Right.
When due to climate risk. and or other risks that come around with it.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think that we've given Bill quite a bit to think about.
yeah,
So
No, we want him to write it right now.
he's got his draft for you. No, he was not driving. We did check for safety purposes.
he's like, oh, great. I gotta
Bill, do
listen to
you
this
have
meeting."
any questions or clarifying comments that you'd like to be addressed before we move to the next agenda item?
Sure. And thank you for the invitation to do that. I have been taking a lot of notes through the conversation. But maybe to circle back on some of what the planning commission was saying, I appreciate the distinction between what is a vision statement and what is the vision chapter. And I think that we will need to have a vision chapter that establishes the context for the vision, describes how it's used, and then clearly separates or somehow compartmentalizes the vision so it is a distinct and identifiable part of that chapter. Now, what you have in the handout tonight really is just the vision pages from the existing vision and introduction chapter of the existing comprehensive plan. So there's a bunch of information in that chapter that precedes what you have here. And so I really tried to excerpt what stands out as the vision in the chapter. And some of the struggles that you were having with the length and maybe the fragmentation of the vision were some of the challenges that I was having with it as well. But I think that there's a way we can streamline it and unify it a little bit better and maybe recast some of those undergirding principles a little bit differently in the descriptive language of the chapter. So definitely hear that. And the comment also about resilience is something that we will have to incorporate into this vision in a little bit more detail, particularly as we fulfill the Growth Management Act requirements to have climate change and resilience dealt with at a policy level. So we'll be circling back to this vision to make sure that we have a good foundation for that policy conversation in the vision. We will, and I'm not sure yet how we're going to recognize it, but the commissioners came up with a vision that is a snapshot of the future. But if you do it that way, you have to that as comprehensively as we're going to need to. We have to almost phrase it as a post, so that there's really just absolute clarity that we're not trying to mix today and tomorrow in the same paragraph. When you look again at the vision, there's one more thing that I think is worthy of thinking about. Right now, this is a very city-centered vision. And I think if you look at Sequim's legacy, the city of Sequim was founded to exist at the benefit of the rural area surrounding. It was the financial center, it was the trade center, it was the housing center for the agricultural entities that were driving the region's economy. The way this vision is written in 2015, and we may want to keep it that same way today, but the way that it was written in 2015, it kind of flips that relationship on its head. And it basically says that the surrounding rural landscape exists for the pleasure of the people who are living and working in Sequim. There may be other little implications in the vision statement that we might want to challenge and maybe project, but still I think they're worthy of looking at. So as you continue to go through this vision statement, definitely get into the specifics, think about the terminology that we may need to correct, and also take a step back and think about the larger picture and the way some of these priorities are cast and see if that's really what we want to maintain for our new plan. Okay, Lindsay, I'll hand it back to you. And thank you, commissioners, for your conversation. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. Safe travels, and I will touch base with you soon. We actually hung up yet. Okay. Did you guys want to add anything to the conversation based upon his feedback?
I don't think so. I think we're,
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Well, thank you.
sure.
I'll wait for the chair to move to the next
Okay,
agenda.
so the next item is under new business and it's the 2025 comprehensive plan update, vision and scoping.
Yeah, so Emily wasn't here to do the agenda,
Okay.
but I found something to make this work. So last month, I'm just going to yell, you'll have to make up minutes for this. We ordered business cards. These are business cards for new commissioners that give all of the information for the interested parties, the people that are interested in Sequim, that want to participate in the comp plan. There's no names or phone numbers. They won't be calling you. They will be calling Travis.
Handing them out.
And I've got
I'll be
more,
selling
but
them
this
for
is the
$1.
250 that I just handed out. If anybody wants more, we have more upstairs, but I'm hopeful that you guys have at least 20 people that you might be able to hand some of these out to. Matter of getting more participants, the squimimagine.org website will continue to take feedback on the preferred approach for the city to consider. So it's still available for surveys, information, and those that have not gotten the data in yet. I also want to let you know that the city has distributed some of these to the food bank, and we're open to other service providers that you may recommend for us to get some messages out about the comprehensive planning process. As well, we had the fun part this summer and the it's coming. The big lift really will be these next couple quarters, as we heard tonight in our meeting and started getting into it. So please let me know what, if you have any recommendations or ideas, and or if you have a huge demand and need more, well, let me know and I'll get some more cards for you too.
Okay. How about to the chamber office? The
We
visitor
can send
center?
some up. Well, the chamber is not just with the city though, is it? It's countywide, but we can go up to the chamber and share some of their information
Okay.
or share some with them.
Okay.
Can I sell these for $1 each?
There is no, we just went through the rules and procedures at last meeting, and there is no fiscal benefit of serving on the planning commission.
Oh, I was gonna just give to you.
Oh, okay.
Just take
They weren't
cash,
even that
Jeff.
expensive.
Just accept cash.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Nice.
That's what I've got for now.
Okay.
Our next meeting is December 16th. I was talking with Bill and SCJ Alliance. In addition to the work that they did in preparation for tonight's meeting, they are working on scoping for the kind of policies and the edits and looking at an analysis of the policies we have and going through and seeing if we need to refine, revise, or rewrite. Their primary planner that is working on it is a resident of what's the city? It was one of the cities that lost power for a week and a half. On this side of the peninsula, I forget. Anyways, so they were unable to get the points of those policies drafted for tonight's meeting. I want to broach to the commission that we give the consultants another 2 weeks to continue and finalize some materials, potentially cancel the December 16th meeting with the commission and come back at the beginning of the year. And so,
Do you anticipate that we would have any other business at that meeting?
at the December 16th, I
Yeah.
do not anticipate that at this time.
Okay.
another idea is we could consider a very short holiday gathering meeting for that night.
Okay. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I'm good with canceling the meeting if we don't have anything and if the consultants need some time for sure. And, I mean, we can gather if everybody wants to or not.
I just realized we talked about last meeting, we talked about potentially identifying a chair for next year. Julianne reminded me that her term as chair does go through for the year 2025.
I mean, I would be willing to stay on as chair, but I also, if there's somebody else that is interested, I would be willing to.
I'm looking on the recording to see if the head nodding.
Don't I have to get elected though again? I have to be elected every year, right?
Appointed,
Or
yeah.
appointed.
But you're willing to, so we could prepare
Yeah.
our first meeting in January if you're willing to.
Yeah, I'm willing to unless, but I also don't want to be exclusive to anybody that really is.
Nomination of Julianne to be the.
We could do-
nominate Julianne.
I mean, could we do it now or?
We would have, it's not on the
Okay.
agenda notice, but it's not something that is a public discussion.
We could do it at the first part of the January meeting.
That's what I
Okay.
think we'll do,
All
is
right.
be the first item on January. We'll probably have to amend the agenda so that new business, we'll just have you do call to order because we haven't appointed a new one yet.
Okay.
So we're good with December 16th being canceled, getting an extra Tuesday back to your guys' self? Okay. Okay. I'm just going to move myself forward on the agenda, if that's okay, Chair, and move into Director's
Absolutely.
report.
I was gonna go there anyway, so
Okay.
take it away.
I want the Planning Commission to be aware that we did do the optional notice for the mobile home manufactured home park public hearing. That is scheduled at City Council for next Monday, December 9th. Travis, Ethan, and I worked on getting that mailing out. I did about 10% of it. They did most of it. Almost 500 additional mailings to the residents of those parks. And I know it was one of the commissioners that brought it up in conversation while we were here. I made sure that got carried forward to City Council's consideration, and they directed that. So I just appreciate that. And I know that that was a concern about the awareness and knowledge of park owners as well as park residents, being familiar with that. So that public hearing and second reading is scheduled for December 9th, sorry. And there is no other major items going to City Council right now. Will likely be in January that we prepare the amendments and legislative ordinances for the updates to the Planning Commission Code and Title II.
Thank you.
yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Lindsay before we move on to get to the order?
I passed my 6-month probation, if anyone
Oh,
was
good.
wondering.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on. Oh, Alex, did you have something?
Well, I'm not sure where it lands. It's one of my out of the ballpark questions.
Is it something that would be on an agenda?
No.
Then I think you
Okay,
asked me
what-
after the meeting.
What?
That's
Okay.
maybe-
Okay.
Others
And-
may be interested.
Oh, okay. Then
Well,
that would be in good
we'll
of the
move
order.
it into the
I'm
good of the
done-
order.
I'm done with the director's
Okay.
report.
So let's move on to good of the order. And Alex, go ahead.
Well, I guess I'm useful as public feedback for the average resident. There was for the like the downtown master plan that was done also by these same consultants we have. I imagine there were certain specs of colors and storefront things, or so have some continuity with the downtown business area. There was an auto glass company that it was like a hometown company and a real, I've had real good experience there. And I guess there was a change of ownership or the corporate thing, name, and then it's all painted black. I just wonder how, of course, that's corporate decision and probably out of the former owners or if he is former or whatever. But how does something like that happen? Because now it's like I consider it sort of a black spot in our folksy downtown that kind of stands out, and maybe no one's allowed to talk about it or anything, which I don't understand. That's usually the answer
to that.
So anyway, I'm curious or see if there's some way to prevent more of that, or that's just my personal opinion. I'm professional, but there's the man in the street.
I appreciate that, Alex. There are tools that the department can utilize to ensure that things like that don't happen. However, the current Sequim Municipal Code does not require site plan and or land use approval criterias for a change in ownership when you maintain the same building use. Therefore, there was not any teeth for us to guide them towards compliance with the downtown plan because it was an existing building. New construction goes through design review. And those will be some code amendments. If you choose to stay on the Planning Commission, we'll probably be looking at towards the end of the year. Next year.
Thank you. But I mean, we can't tell people what color they can.
Yes, we very much can.
Okay.
We can tell them what kind of material their fencing needs to be. Aesthetics matter to the economy of place. I've worked in communities where if you had steel chain link fencing, you would have code enforcement out there and you'd have to rip it out within 30 days. So not to say that I would recommend that for Sequim, that we go that stringent, but planning rights do have aesthetic design control.
Okay.
From my experience in our HOA, we have a palette that everyone can choose from, and then the board approves it. And we had someone change it after we approved it and paint his house and garage black. And they had to repaint it at their expense. So anyway, it was to, and the idea of that in an HOA is you preserve the value of everyone's property by having some sort of uniform idea of how you paint things. And
Okay. Thank you. Jeff, did you have something or?
Yeah, was your comment, Lindsay, after a conversation, or was it a conceptual, did you have a conversation with the guy?
No, Safe Light's been there for a while. Sorry, I know what building. It's right behind my house, but I actually like black paint. So I'm going to let you know I'm biased there too.
And so I'm just asking because if we're, we're really a friendly community here. And if a city official approached them and said, hey, this kind of doesn't fit, would you be willing to try a different color, or can we help you figure out how to make it different? Is that even an option?
That would create some challenges in my role and the liability with the city if we didn't send it to everybody. And so then we're sending, only 2 people don't get a letter. Kind of like the code enforcement conversation we had when we went out and did the bus tour of the manufactured mobile home parks is let's not look at code issues. Let's look at what we're here to focus on. Sometimes you have to wear blinders too. But there is an opportunity to amend the code so that we can get more people to get picked up in the process It's a matter of, it's part of the city's growing up a little bit. I think, moving from that awkward little teenager, little city, nobody knows where we're at, to kind of growing up a little bit. And so there will be those growth changes, but staying open to different design is also something that creates authenticity and a uniqueness to a community.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have anything for good of the order? Okay, well, would anybody like to move to adjourn? No? Okay, second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, meeting is adjourned at 7:20.
Good job.